who's typically more informed is the guy, because in traditional household roles, a lot of times the guy is the one that's in charge of the budget and paying the bills and the expenses and all of that. So that means that women can kind of take, a step back and not have to be as involved.
Focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
Welcome to the Wealth on the Beach podcast. My name is Daniel Alonzo, and as always, I am your host, bringing you some of the greatest minds in the world. We're talking business, we're talking money, we're talking massive passive residual income. And today we have a really, really special guest. This young lady is 27 years old. Her name is Rachel Richards, and she's made a name for herself in personal finance world. In 2019, she quit her job and retired with over $10,000 a month in passive income. She's the best-selling author of Money, Honey, and Passive Income Aggressive Retirement. She has been featured on the Penny Hoarder and the New York Times and has been contracted to speak at colleges. Rachel's also a real estate investor with 35 rental units. Her valuable money lessons have helped thousands of millennials work their way out of financial despair. We're going to be talking a lot about that today. She has successfully done what no one else has done before, made the topic of money management fun, entertaining, and simple. Rachel Richards, you are a total champion. 27 years old. What's it like being 27 and making all this money and having all this freedom?
Oh, well, thanks for the intro, Daniel. It's so great to be here. It's absolutely crazy. I never thought my life would be the way it is at age 27. I always wanted to retire early, but I just didn't think that it would happen this quickly. But to be in complete control of my time and to be able to travel and kind of go and do whatever I want, it's definitely life-changing, and I'm grateful for it every single day.
So where did it all begin, Rachel? Tell me about what your parents did. Tell me about where you grew up and what was your childhood like?
For sure. My childhood definitely shaped why I am the way I am. I'm very motivated by making sure I won't have to be financially dependent on somebody else. Growing up, we lived in a really wealthy county in Kentucky. And I'm talking when people in my high school turned 16, they were getting brand new BMWs. Okay, so that's not how my family was operating at the time. We were always on a budget. We weren't going out to eat at restaurants. We weren't going on trips. So at that age, I always felt different. And when you're in middle school and high school, that's the last way you want to feel. You don't want to feel different from your peers. So that definitely motivated me from a young age to start learning everything I could about money management, because I didn't want to end up like everyone that was struggling with money. I didn't want to have to borrow money from my family and friends to make it to my next paycheck. I wanted to be different. And what I realized back then is that what I did then was going to either set me up for wealth or for poverty. So I decided, okay, I'm going to take control, I'm going to learn, and I'm going to become financially independent one way or another.
And so this little journey that you went on, I mean, this kind of started as a young person, right? I mean, you saw these people having kind of a, maybe a little bit more freer life, more financially independent life, getting to do the things that they wanted to do. And I think that, me included, I mean, I saw other people that had way more than we did. And I said, man, why is it that they get to live that good life? Why do they get to play golf every day? And my mom has to go to work every day. My dad has to go to work every day. And how come we don't get to go on trips 4 or 5 times a year or whatever, right? And so it started when you were young. I mean, did you always have that little feeling that inside of you?
Absolutely. My earliest memory of starting to become obsessed with finance was actually in 6th grade. I was in a summer camp with my friends, and I had found this book. It was like the Motley Fool's Guide for Teens, How to Have More Money Than Your Parents Ever Dreamed of, something like that. And I picked it up, and while all my friends are going down the water slides, I'm sitting at the edge of this pool reading this book, like the little nerd that I am. I'm a true nerd at heart. And from there, I mean, it just opened my eyes, and I was like, wow, I have the advantage of time here. I could really get ahead right now if I take these things seriously. So that sparked my interest.
Well, that's so cool because, I mean, obviously I've been teaching my kids about money since they were born. Like we are a nerd family too. We like watch the Shark Tank religiously. Okay.
That's
Like
awesome.
I mean, we get together and we talk about money, and we play Monopoly together and things like that. So I totally get it. And so you were a nerd growing up. And so for all those people that I always remember, because I was a bad kid growing up. So it sounds like you were a good kid growing up. Is that right? You
Yeah,
got good grades?
probably. Yeah, I
Okay.
was pretty type A, perfectionist little kids.
Followed all the rules. You
That's
were a
right. Rule follower for sure.
rule follower for sure. See, I'm like completely the opposite. So the good news is that no matter where you fall in the spectrum, for all the audience, there's hope for you, right? So if you're on one side or the other side, we all have an opportunity. But I mean, as far as like who was it that got you fired up about money other than that book? Like, did you have an early mentor or anything like that?
I would say the mentors were the books that I read, the authors of the books that I read, because I've always been an avid reader. You can see my bookshelf behind me, tons of books. I read The Millionaire Next Door at a really, really young age, which is so eye-opening about how millionaires aren't living these extravagant lifestyles. They're living very modestly. You can't really tell a millionaire apart from another person. So that was really interesting. Books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Total Money Makeover. I consider those my mentors because I didn't really have anyone in my life that was teaching me about money. So I was sort of self-educating.
And so, what did your parents do when you grew up, as you were growing up?
They were both working full time.
Okay.
And they definitely fell, they had their times of financial hardship, as does everybody. And there was a period of time where it just was like a ton of bad luck right in a row. And so much bad luck that the average person just would not be able to recover or handle that financially. And so I saw some of the things that could happen and really devastate a family. And I got scared. I was like, wow, I don't ever want to be in that situation. I don't ever want to have to worry. I don't ever want to be in a situation where if a loved one needs my help financially, I'm not able to help them. So that's really, it was this fear of not having enough money. That's been the primary motivation and has really spurred me on to be the person that I am today.
Wow. I mean, it's just interesting because I interview so many successful people, and I always look, at their responses and how they respond to things. And I think most of us, we had something deep rooted in us where we wanted to have a better life. You just wanted to do good in your life. You wanted to have more in your life, and you wanted to have that financial independence. And so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to hear that. And I mean, you're 27 years old. I mean, come on. I mean, most people don't become authors at 27. Most people don't become financially independent at 27. Like, seriously, like, did you always know that you wanted to write books? I mean, were you always a writer? Like, when did that come about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it was always in my subconscious, but I never knew. I never was aware of it. When I was actually a little kid, I would write short stories for fun. And my parents always thought I was a talented little writer. But of course, when I got into high school and college, I was like, well, I need to do something practical, right? Something that's going to make money. I don't think writers make money. I mean, that was just my misconception at the time. So I was like, well, I'll go into financial economics and make a lot of money, with this business type major. So that's what I did. I recently, though, read a statistic that something like 82 or 84% of Americans want to write and publish a book. It's a dream that a lot of us have. And at some point in my journey, all my family and friends were coming to me for financial advice because I was a former financial advisor, all this stuff. And I wondered, well, why aren't they reading like I did or learning from some of these free resources on the internet? And then I realized, oh, duh, personal finance is boring. It's dull, it's complex, it's overwhelming. I mean, for most people, there's nothing but negative emotions associated with money management. So then I thought to myself, well, how can I take this topic and make it fun and sassy and simple? And that's where the idea for Money Honey came from. So I sat down, started writing it, the words poured out of me. And it has gone on to become more successful than I ever could have thought. It's really resonated with female millennials. And I think I have something like almost 550 five-star reviews or something on Amazon right now. I just never could have imagined that would happen.
That's incredible. And so, what do you think it is about that book, Money Honey, that really, or no, it's honey money, right? Or no,
Money
money,
Honey. You're right the
money
first
honey.
time.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was right the first. Okay, and so what do you think is about that book? Like, give me a couple of thoughts of that book that may have gotten, that you think got people excited about it.
Yeah, there's a couple concepts that people have told me have really resonated with them. The entire section about investing, people say, finally, this is something that I now understand investing. Because, a lot of my friends at the time would come to me and say, well, Rachel, like, I know I need to buy a stock, but how do I physically buy a stock? Like, what do I actually do, right? Most books don't go into that level of detail. So I did. I took screenshots of Fidelity accounts and everything. And I said, here's the literal steps of how you can get invested in the stock market. There's another concept I talk about that people love, and it's called the savings buckets. Because to me, savings is a confusing topic because you're saving for 100 different things. Maybe you're saving up for a trip or for Christmas presents this year, or you're saving up for your kids' college education or for your retirement. So it becomes really difficult when some of these financial gurus will say, save 15% of your paycheck or save 20% of your paycheck. That's very generalized advice. And I just think we need something a little bit more hands-on and specific. It's like, well, what do I do with that 15%? Where do I put it? So the savings bucket strategy is all about saving based on timelines, short-term savings, medium-term savings, long-term savings. And I tell people where to put each bucket. So that's something that has really resonated with people.
And so when it started having success, when did you come up with the concept that, because obviously that was kind of a way to get people to really see money and to understand money at a little bit of a deeper detail. When did you start talking about passive income and what really is passive income?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I love passive income. So the way I define passive income is that it's money earned with little to no ongoing effort. Okay. Now it's no get rich quick scheme. It does take time or money to create. You can't just snap your fingers and have thousands of dollars of passive income. But I had this epiphany years ago, sometime after I wrote Money Honey, when I was learning about passive income. And I realized, okay, well, once your passive income exceeds your living expenses, you're retired, you're financially independent. And at that point in my life, I only knew of real estate investing as the way to generate passive income. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized there's tons of ways to generate passive income. So I started writing my book. People really wanted to hear about the topic. They knew I was on track to retire early and they wanted to know, how are you doing this? I came up with like 28 different passive income models. So trust me when I say there is something out there for everybody.
And so give us a couple of ideas, or give us a couple of ways that people make passive income.
Yeah, for sure. So there's royalty income. So that would be like the money that I make from my books. It took me a long time to write the book, but then once I did, it became very hands-off. And now I just do some marketing each week. There's online courses. There's coin-operated machines. So think about putting a coin-operated laundry machine in a dorm or an apartment complex. Things like vending machines, you're going around to these things to collect money once a week and restocking, pretty passive, and you can even outsource that. And then the ones that people know a lot more often are the portfolio income and the rental income.
And so is there a better passive income and a worse passive income? I mean, what would be your favorite ways to earn passive income for you personally?
Well, for me personally, I love my book business. So I love real estate investing and what it does for people. There's a lot of benefits. There's the cash flow, there's the equity buildup and the tax benefits. But to me, I never wanted to quit my job and become a full-time landlord. Like, real estate investing isn't my passion. It's more a means to an end. So my personal passion is actually my book business and teaching about financial literacy, which actually ends up being a pretty passive business itself. But it's so cool because any passive income, you don't have to be passionate or want to do it for the rest of your life. It can be simply a tool for generating income so that then you can go follow your dreams and do the things that you want to do.
That's really cool that you said that, because I when I first got into financial services, I was excited about it, but I was always passionate about art. I love to draw, and I was actually trying to become a cartoonist before I got into the business that I've been doing for 24 years now. But, I always told myself that the reason why I'm doing the financial services business is because now I love it, and I love talking about money, and I enjoy talking about passive income and making money. But early on, it was that kept me motivated. I was like, you know what? When I'm 30 years old, I could draw for the rest of my life. If I just get passive income coming in and build a great business, I mean, I could do whatever I want to do for the rest of my life, whenever I want to do it. And that is actually what happened to me. So that's really cool that you said that. And I do believe that, right? I mean, some people, they think that they have to, like, oh, it's not my calling, I shouldn't do that business because it's not my calling. Well, maybe it's not your calling, but whatever you're doing right now is requiring you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to work, and then you could get laid off. I mean, what's going on right now, man? We're in the middle of a pandemic right now, Rachel. I mean, we're talking, what, 36 million people last month filed for unemployment. I mean, this would have been a great time to have passive income, right?
Oh, exactly. And I'm glad you bring that up, because one of the things that I disagree with is this whole idea that being a full-time salaried employee is safe and secure. And that means you have job stability and you have income security. No, if you are 100% dependent on a single source of income, that is not secure. Because what happens if you lose your job, if your hours get cut, if you get laid off, then it goes away. So the best way to go about creating this financial security is something called income diversification. This is where you have multiple sources of income. And again, right now during this coronavirus pandemic, for example, my rental income, it's practically gone. I went from having $7,000 to $12,000 per month in cash flow from my rentals to, in April, we had $1,000 profit. Now, a lot of landlords are worse off than me. A lot are doing better than I am. The way I see it is, if I break even for a few months, that's fine. I'm happy with that. But I'm not in a complete panic, and I'm not operating out of desperation, because I have all these other income streams holding me afloat. So I'm not worried about losing the one income stream. So I'm glad you said that, because I think income diversification is so important.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, you have to have multiple streams of income, and I think that that's why you really have to take a look. Like, the people that are listening right now, they really have to investigate different types of businesses that allow them to be their own boss, to be in total control. Like, I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, my business today is doing more business than ever, because I mean, I do insurances, I do investments. Investments go down, then people want to buy more. I mean, it's not a bad thing to dollar cost average your money. And then, of course, it's not a bad thing, the fact that that we do insurances. People are scared. People are fearful right now. And not to mention, I recruit and I train and I develop people. So these people are independent. I'm earning multiple streams of income. It really couldn't have been a better time. I mean, just for our business. Obviously, I'm very empathetic to anybody that's lost their job. I mean, it's just sad. I mean, it really is a tough time for so many people, but that's why they got to get your book. That's why they got to read your book, so that way they can learn more ways to weather the next storm, because this ain't the last storm. This is just a storm. And then we're going to have another storm, and we're going to have another storm. Do you kind of agree with that?
Oh yeah, I always tell people it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I mean, these things are cyclical. We're going to have another recession. And if we can use this time to learn about, maybe, was I happy with the amount I had in emergency savings coming into this? What would I do going forward to better prepare for the next time this happens? I think this can be a great learning opportunity, and it can really help most people be better prepared for the next recession that happens.
And this is the time to make major changes and ask yourself, was I prepared? And if you were not prepared, you better get prepared for the next storm that's coming. Because actually, I mean, in my estimation, we could go through a major crash next year. I mean, that's what I'm seeing. I could be completely dead wrong, but I'm seeing there could be a major crash in 2021. And so you better prepare now, so that way, no matter what, because I mean, even with you, right? I'm assuming you have lots of money saved. I'm assuming you have accounts, you have mutual funds, you have portfolios, you have emergency accounts. I'm assuming you have all that. So even if all of your income went away, even if all of your cash flow went away, your family is still okay. And that's
Exactly.
the point, is that you kind of like I always pictured it as, I wanted my family on our own island, safe. Then we're okay to try other things and do other things. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you said that, because the thing with passive income, you don't want to make just enough to cover your living expenses. You want to make enough that you're still able to save aggressively. So that's why we aimed for that $10,000 a month mark. That more than covers our living expenses, and we're still saving thousands of dollars per month while we're doing it. So we are still building up this nest egg for true emergencies. And I think I just calculated the other day, it's something like, if all of our income disappeared, we would be able to cover our living expenses for like 3 years. So I'm just not worried about what's going to happen. And that's a really, privileged and awesome place to be. And like you said, I have a lot of empathy, but I think we can use this time right now and maybe some of this fear to sort of motivate us into taking our finances a little bit more seriously, getting your money saved, generating those income streams. That way you can protect yourself against the future.
Love that. Okay, you're a woman. You talk to a lot of women, a lot of millennials. Do women save? I don't know if you know the answer to this, but do women save better than men, or do men save better? Like, who's a better saver? Who's better with their money, men or women?
I don't know who's better, but I think who's typically more informed is the guy, because in traditional household roles, a lot of times the guy is the one that's in charge of the budget and paying the bills and the expenses and all of that. So that means that women can kind of take, a step back and not have to be as involved. And that's fine. I still encourage young women to be proactive, be fully informed, really get involved with your own budget. Or if you have a significant other, make sure you're looking at things as a team and not just letting one or the other partner handle it all, because you really need to be part of that discussion and part of that conversation. I will say, in terms of emotions, women tend to feel, I think, worse emotions than guys. So, we're never taught about money growing up. At no point in our lives are we taught these things. And then we're left feeling these feelings of guilt and shame and embarrassment. And I think that hits women a lot more so than it does men. And it's a shame, because we weren't given the resources that we need to succeed. We're not taught these things in school. Oftentimes, maybe we're not even learning from our parents. So then to feel this guilt and shame that you're not managing your money well is just really unfortunate. So I just always encourage young women specifically, you're not alone. It's normal to not know what the heck is going on with your finances. You can absolutely learn and take control and turn things around. So I hate when I see people feeling that way.
And honestly, it's not that complicated, right? I mean, this is not rocket science. I was not a good student in school. I was a slow reader. I was a bad boy in school growing up. I mean, I was the bad kid, and I learned it, right? I figured it out, and it's not that complicated. It's not. If it was rocket science, I certainly would not have mastered it. Okay, so for sure. I mean, it's something that if you understand some core concepts and core principles, and then you stick to it, right? You actually habitually stick to that game plan. Nothing can stop you long range. I mean, it'll just fund itself long range. So, I was going to say that I've been one of those husbands that have always told my wife about the finances, even though I'm the guy that's sitting on my Quicken account and managing the finances and categorizing everything and knowing, running my reports and everything, and doing the investments. I always would bring her in quite often and say, look, this is what we got. This is where we're at. And any time in the last 24 years, any time that we had a bad month or a bad couple of months, or I just felt like things were not where we needed them to be. And I'm like a crazy saver. So I mean, I'm a freak saver. I mean, I was driving a $10,000 maximum. I was making $300,000 a year driving to 10,000. Like, I'm just a crazy saver. But I'd always tell her, like, look, we're not saving as much money right now, so let's just kind of chill out over here. Let's maybe not, instead of going out 2 nights to dinner this week, let's go out 1 night to dinner this week, or whatever the conversation was. And I just think that if you're a listener right now and you're a man and you're a husband, you need to get your wife informed. Do you kind of think that makes sense?
Yes, for sure. I think it's great to just let's ask the guys out there. Yeah, it's fine to be in charge of the household expenses, but, show your significant other what's going on, have those conversations, because like you said, you're involving your wife, you're showing her in the budget, hey, let's maybe try to cut back here. That conversation's going to go a lot better when she's involved rather than you just coming to her and saying, okay, you need to cut back on this, we're spending too much. It's really going to help if she's involved, she's seeing the same things you're seeing, and then she's going to agree and be totally on board.
Yeah, because who wants to live below, who wants to live like agony, you know what I mean? Like stressed out. Nobody wants to live like that. So if she understands kind of what's going on in the finances, and you don't, because I think a lot of, husband and wives, they hide things from each other, right? They don't tell each other, oh, I spent this, I spent that. And then they find out later when they're all messed up in credit card debt and they're, fighting about money and I can't believe you spent it, So it's better just to kind of show them. And then that way, because they're, come on, they're smart. They're going to say, you know what? Probably we should cut back a little bit. We should just chill out a little bit, maybe not do some of these other things because we don't need to right now. And so what are some of the other mistakes that you see people make when handling their finances in the world?
Yeah, there's a lot of mistakes out there. I think especially for young people and students, credit cards are a big mistake because, you can basically spend more than you're making all of a sudden. And, oh, there's a nice pair of Nike shoes that I really want, but I can't afford right now. And if you don't understand how credit cards work, you basically just think, oh, I'm basically putting this on a payment plan, so it's fine. But you kind of don't factor in all of the interest that you're paying, and the interest is exorbitant. And credit cards are a nightmare because these companies are designed to take advantage of your emotions and, sort of take advantage of you. They're very predatory. So that's why it can be so easy to get into this cycle of credit card debt. You say to yourself, okay, well, I don't have money today, but I'm literally making my paycheck tomorrow. So I'm just going to put this on a credit card. I'll pay it off. That's how it starts off, totally well-intentioned. But then one week you just don't have enough to pay that full balance and you're like, it's fine. And you can see how easily this can just sort of cycle out of control. So that's one thing to be really, really careful of. I always say, treat your credit card like a debit card. If you don't have the money in the bank right then, that means you can't afford it. Make sure you're paying off your balance in full every single month. I think another big mistake that I see, especially young people making, is making the decision of whether or not to go to college. And I think people are starting to wake up and learn a little bit more and be a little more informed about this, because at least when I was in school, and this was even just a few years ago, the assumption is that everyone's going to go to college. Everyone needs to get a 4-year degree. That's what you have to do to get a good job. And the cost of college has risen so drastically in the past couple decades that that is no longer true. A 4-year degree might not guarantee you an income level or a certain career. I remember majoring in financial economics and my professors all telling me, yeah, the average starting salary for this major is 60 grand. And I was like, well, that sounds pretty good. Then when I graduated, my starting salary was $32,000. And my next salary after that was $36,000. So you can't even calculate the ROI on a college degree because you have no idea how much you're going to be making after that. So I just think, it's not that going into debt for a college degree is bad. It's just that you have to be informed about your decision. Consider going to a trade school or a vocational school, or something I'm seeing more people do is go to a community college for the first 2 years and then transfer your credits over to a public or private university. So I always just tell people, really be aware about those financial decisions you're making at a young age, because those are the things that will come back later to haunt you in the future.
Oh man, you just hit on a huge nerve right now for me, man. I just think that college is, for a lot of people, okay, is just a complete absolute waste of time. I mean, the truth is that college, I mean, the inflation rate, Rachel, is like 7% on colleges per year. So we're talking, to me, that's predatory right there.
Absolutely.
For them to charge us, what's that, 2 or 3 times the rate of inflation? Like, how does that? And on top of all that, they're getting government subsidies. They're getting, alumni donations. I mean, there's so much coming in. It's insane. And at the same time, they're taking advantage of all these people that think that they need a college degree to become successful. And the truth is furthest from the truth. I mean, everything that I've done it through state licenses. So all of how I, operate my business, they're all state licenses. They're all state, exams that I've taken. Cost me very little. Next to nothing it cost me for those licenses that have paid me $20 million since I've been in business. So you can't tell me that everybody needs college. Now, obviously, right? I always have to do this little disclaimer, right? Obviously, if you want to be a doctor, because I'll get all these messages like, well, I want to be a doctor. Obviously, if you want to be a doctor, you got to go to college. Obviously, if you want to be a dentist and, engineer or whatever, but you're so right on, Rachel. I mean, be careful just to go to college. I mean, not only are you losing money to go to college, but you're losing the time value of the money because you're in college, not working, not earning income or growing a business. Am I a little bit close here, Rachel?
For sure. People think it's just the prospect of the amount of debt you're going into, but you have to factor in that opportunity cost. You're giving up 4 years of your life. I built my entire business in less than 4 years. I went from $0 to $10,000 a month in passive income in 3 years. So when I don't think I needed my college degree to do it. I was doing real estate investing and I was writing books. So you're absolutely right. Sometimes I just think the colleges and the cost of colleges, it's like predatory lending at its finest.
I want to say one other thing too, because you're right on, like the debt situation, because this is one thing that I'm very proud of. I mean, I've never paid a finance charge on a credit card, and I am 45 years old, not one in my entire life, okay? And I'm very proud of that. But when I was first like on my run to financial independence, what I used to do, and I know this sounds crazy, but some people out there may need to do this, okay? Of course, get Quicken, get some sort of financial software to use because that'll keep you organized. But what I used to do is every time I would spend on my credit card, I would come home and I would minus it out of my check register in my Quicken account. So if I looked at my Quicken, I'd know what real money I had in my account, because I'd have to pay that credit card off at the end of the month. So I don't know. I just wanted to share that with everybody because that's something that really helped me. So do you have any other tips like that made things that you've done that kind of have helped you?
Yeah, I was just going to say I do something similar with credit cards. So pretty much every single day I'll go in and pay off my balance. I don't wait for the monthly statement to come through and then, then that statement's getting paid the next month. I think that can be confusing to understand your budget and when you truly had that expense. So I always recommend when people are doing their budgets, pay your credit card off as you go. That way you can really track that expense in the month that it's happening. So that I do something similar.
Yeah, so you're pretty much crazy like me, Rachel. I
I'm
mean,
very crazy.
you're pretty much a nut like me. Okay, so but no, look, I mean, you've written some books, and we talked about your passive income, aggressive retirement book that just came out, and so is there any other tips out there? Because we got a few minutes left, but I want to kind of dive into some really practical things that people could be doing. Is there anything we should know about this book that we're going to be able to take away from it that really could change our life?
Absolutely. So here's something I'll share with you is I hate the advice for people that want to be entrepreneurs or want to start side hustles or whatever. I hate the advice where people say, just quit your job and take a leap of faith and the net will appear. Okay, I hate that. That's my biggest pet peeve because that is so risky. What if this income stream you're trying to generate just doesn't work out and you don't make any money? Then what do you do? So I recommend anyone looking to build passive income, you can absolutely get started today even. You don't have to quit your job to do it. When I think back to the couple years before I quit my job, my husband and I were working constantly. It definitely was a sacrifice. We were both working 40 or 50-hour full-time jobs. Then we were doing all the real estate investing and rental properties on the weekends. And then I was using my evenings to write my book. So it was a lot that was going on at that time. But it was great because that way I could work on my free time to replace and offset my full-time income. And once I replaced my full-time income, that's when I decided it's probably about time to quit my job. So I just, I tell everybody, absolutely, it's okay to have an exit strategy, have a plan in place and have a certain income number in mind that you want to be making before you quit. you have plenty of time in the evenings and on the weekends. You just have to be willing to sacrifice and free up that time for yourself. So that's kind of my biggest piece of advice that I give
Yeah,
people.
I mean, seriously, like turn off Netflix, man. I mean, there's so much you can accomplish if you turned off Netflix. There's so much that you can accomplish if you just get focused. And I tell people, I mean, you're so right on, Rachel. You are so right on, because I tell people all the time, like even when they come to work with me, because my organization recruits hundreds of people every month, and these new people that are coming in, even during this pandemic, by the way, they want to just start up full time, and I say, wait a minute. This is going to take time. You got to learn new things. You got to learn how to, how to build a business. You got to learn how to recruit. You need to learn how to sell the products. You need to learn how, I mean, there's so many little things that you need to do. So you should still get a job. Like if now obviously if you're full-time because you can't get another job, that it is what it is right now. This is a very different situation, different life that we're living, all wearing masks outside, which is just insane, to me. But all of this is happening, and people need to choose right. They need to say, all right, have a job, keep yourself stable, because you never want to do a business and be stressed doing it. You want to do it with some sort of like nest egg, some sort of little emergency fund. So when you're doing it, especially when you're in my kind of business, a sales business, you don't want to be pressured to make a sale. You want to do what's right for that client no matter what, irregardless of you having to worry about paying your mortgage or not. So do you feel anything on that?
For sure. It's just about doing it the responsible way, protecting yourself, protecting your finances, making sure you're not going to end up in tens of thousands of dollars of debt because you quit your job trying to do something that wasn't real yet. So I totally agree with you. And if you do it the right way, then your business will absolutely thrive in the long run.
Well, this has been so much fun, Rachel. I am excited. I'm so excited to meet you. I mean, I literally could do this. We could do another 10 hours on this, okay? And hopefully we have a part 2 where we dive even deeper into all the strategies that you have. But I really think people need to go get your book. They need to go invest the few bucks into getting your book and getting to know you, because you sound to me, I mean, I read people really well, and you sound like you got your stuff together. And this has really been fun, and you're just such a huge inspiration to so many people. So look, check this out, Rachel. You tell us how we can get a hold of you. You tell us how we can get your book. You tell us how we can contact you. What do we got to do?
Well, thank you, Daniel. This has been so fun, and I feel the same way about you. You're so awesome. So for listeners that want to grab my books, they are on Amazon, an ebook, paperback, and audio. And I will give you guys a freebie today. So my passive income bonus gift is just a short PDF that has some deadly mistakes to avoid. It helps you figure out which passive income stream you should build first. And there's a lot of free resources and tools. So if you want to download that, you can go to www.moneyhoneyrachel.com/bonus.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel. We appreciate your time, and we wish you all the best in life. I know there's no question in my mind. I'm hanging with you right now. I'm like, she's going to be the next Susie Orman or something like that. So I just love, whether you want to or not, I think that you're making a big difference in a lot of people's lives. And again, even though these are simple concepts, even though people think that they're so, like, oh my God, it's so common sense, and oh, I already know that. Well, guess what? How come most people in America are broke, right? How come so many people are stressed out? So many people are hurting right now. Guess what, right? And I'm talking to the audience here. Guess what, right? Whether you like it or not, you need to get your money right. You need to get your, focus on building your financial independence for your family right. You need to find the right kind of business. If you have a job, great. Save your money, build a nest egg. If you don't have a job, build a business. Become an entrepreneur. Do whatever you have to do to build financially independence for your family. So, hey, with that said, thank you again, Rachel. We appreciate you. Dream bigger, everybody, but make sure that you do it now. God bless you. We'll see you at the top.